Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Week in Guns, brought to you by Patriot Patch Company, VZGrips, MAF Corporation, and FFLPayments. This show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Matthew LaRosiere, and who do you think is joining me today? Let's add him on to center stage.
It's me. I'm here to hold down the middle lane, boys.
That's so good. All right. Well, for our audio listeners, what are you doing?
It's the rat from Halo 3, and he's holding a 3D printed AK with the drum mag, and he's holding down the center lane on the hit classic Black Ops 1 map Rush. That's what that one's called.
There you go, audio listeners. It's the rat. There you go. So once again, the rat from King's Quest 3.
Yes.
Holding a Zastava Z-Pap.
Yep.
On the Fortnite map, GM construct.
Yes.
That's
a good one.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been it was a busy week.
That's awesome. I have been stupidly busy as well. And we're doing some work. We're getting ready to do some more reviews. And for our video listeners, I will give you a little teaser. We are going to be responding to some annoying comments that were made. I went and got this.
Yeah. It's just a little bag.
It's a bag.
It's a bag with nondescript parts in it.
Yeah. Very cool. But anyway, let us get into it, shall we? So this first story you've pulled up. This is from the National Association for Gun Rights.
And you can't say their acronym on the internet. They don't like that.
They
say that.
Supreme Court Justice Barrett considering a National Association for Gun Rights case to overturn Illinois gun ban. What did they mean by this, Yvonne?
So this is sort of the typical thing, and this one's got three twists and turns to it. So of course, asking the Supreme Court to take your case whenever your case has other directions it could go is really never going to work, because the Supreme Court doesn't like doing their jobs, which happens. They are busy with their jobs, so they do the jobs that's the most relevant.
Right.
However, this is all in reaction to the Illinois assault weapons ban, where the Seventh Circuit handed down like the most bizarre of anti-gun opinions. It was like really, really bad, where like even things that Heller and Bruin spelled out, they didn't, in my opinion, they didn't spell out as much as they should and or could have. However, there were some things that they did spell out pretty darn clearly, where it's like, this is how you do this. There's not any question. And then like in the Seventh Circuit's opinion, they like said, oh, it's very unclear. How are we expected to understand this? Like, they made it really clear. They told you what arms were. It's bearable arms.
Yeah. That's
impossible. They could like a handgun's maybe a bearable arm, but anything beyond that, we're just not sure.
Right. But so what is actually happening here? Because NAGR is, it's their case, so their headlines are to be questioned, right? So what's actually going on?
So there's like 7 cases, there were 6-7 cases that were consolidated here with this opinion from the Seventh Circuit. And past this point, they're sort of up to themselves as far as what they do next. So many of them have gone and appealed to the en banc Seventh Circuit, which I don't think is a bad move, but personally, I think this opinion was so awful. I think an actual appeal to the Supreme Court with at least one of these plaintiffs wouldn't have been a bad idea. However, what NAGR has done is they went and appealed to the Seventh Circuit en banc. However, they then asked the Supreme Court in an emergency motion to give them an injunction that's interlocutory. So while the en banc waits to give us the answer and or their opinion, if they go ahead and say yes, they want to hear it, all the way up to the point that cert is either granted or denied by the Supreme Court, they would like an injunction granted by the Supreme Court. Extremely, extremely rare that this stuff happens, especially it being interlocutory, where it's not reversing a decision, it's overruling a decision by the Seventh Circuit. So extremely unlikely it will happen. However, the credit that I will give NAGR is it doesn't hurt them to try, as well as the arguments that they made in their brief, I thought were really, really good because they didn't like bloviate or waste the Supreme Court's time. I think it was pretty close to a blow by blow of like, look, these guys completely ignored everything that you guys have been saying for the past 20 years. Even stuff that's like very clear. They were pretending like, oh, this is impossible for a court to understand. This is circular reasoning. Right. It's really not. Maybe you could say immediately after Heller to some courts it was a little confusing. By now it's spelled out. It's not circular at all. You just have to have an IQ that's like warmer than 50 degrees. But it was a very well written brief, I think. And so the big news is that they asked the Supreme Court to listen to this, and usually what happens is the Supreme Court, most of the time these things happen, the Supreme Court says, stop talking to us. Like, we don't care, go figure it out yourselves. But
let the lower court talk it up.
Right. Miss Amy Coney Barrett did again, it's not unusual, but a little bit uncommon thing of, she said, okay, I'm going to take this emergency appeal seriously. And then she gave the state of Illinois until December 6th to reply to what NAGR motioned for here, which was they want the emergency stay. So it's still, don't really get your hopes up. However, again, it doesn't hurt them to try. And I saw some people saying like, oh, these gun rights groups are just wasting money. I don't think they're hurting for money if they're doing something like this. And if at the end of the day,
it doesn't like cost extra.
Right. At the end of the day, if it does one of two things, and in one thing it's certainly already accomplished, right, is it keeps this on the Supreme Court's mind, right? As long as one of the justices is aware of the fact that like, hey, these guys ain't listening to you, that's a good thing. As well as if there's any chance that the Supreme Court, either back channels or front channels of communication with the Seventh Circuit en banc and says, hey, make up your minds quickly. This isn't something that should have feet dragged on. Like, it's not hard. Figure it out. Right. So, and that did happen with the Seventh Circuit already, where the Seventh Circuit was like, "Oh no, please don't do an emergency enjoinment earlier because we'll figure out our decision really quickly," and then drag their feet for 4 months because why wouldn't they? Right. But if it just makes the Seventh Circuit hurry up, it still wouldn't be a terrible outcome here. So, good work, NAGR. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think you guys are slightly less annoying than I usually think you are today. Right on. But yeah, no, like actually unironically, not bad. Not bad. You know what else is actually unironically not bad? VZGrips. They're the most popular grips are available for the gun that you keep in your taint pocket. It's VZGrips. They are from Florida. You should buy from them. Use promotional code ThisWeek15. VZ Patriot program. Ignoring that because I'm not a government slave. Let's see. What do we got? 1911 stuff. Magwell's.
We got parts.
Yeah, they got 1911 parts, all kinds of stuff. And, as you might know, me and Ivan are now official 1911 owners, so we're gonna.
I'm a 1911 lubber.
Yeah, we're gonna need to start stocking up on Magwells and mainspring housings. And actually, what do you think of that? The Wilson Combits magazine? Well,
I got one of them. You need to like inlet your grips to fit over it just right. Otherwise, it wiggles around a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it still works, but like I don't like the fact that it moves because like you feel it and then it moves.
You have
like
one of those on your Combits, Commander?
I did for a while, and then I took it off because it moved. Okay. Like you can't inlet your grips, but the grips that I have currently are the ones that say Colt on them with the pony, and I don't want to inlet them because that would feel wrong because the grips have a lot of wear on them and they look nice.
Yeah, fits great with the grips, the VZGrips. It really finishes off the weapon nicely, helps with mag changes, and feels solid.
Will say I did put it on a 1911 where the grips were inletted, and I will say it definitely does make it smooth. Like it accomplishes the job of being a flared magwell. It does it right.
Let's see the 1-star review. Not a good product at all. No reason you should have to Dremel anything, be it the grips or the magwell piece itself. So he didn't like that.
He didn't want to inlet his grips either. He's probably had the Colt pony on them too.
There's way more 5 stars though. So anyway, yeah, I mean, but for the price, hey, look around the website, use promotional code this week 15 and check them out. That's VZGrips. Thanks, VZGrips, for sponsoring the show. Have a good time. All right, next up, this is good. This is a good one. This is in the Northern District of West Virginia, which is slightly confusing. A federal district judge has just struck down the federal ban on selling handguns, FFL selling handguns to 18 to 21 or 18 to 20-year-old adults.
Yep.
So that is, I have felt for a while that this was going to be low-hanging fruit, because there's just no justification for it, historical or otherwise. Like, because it's not even as if we're talking about children, right? We're talking about adults. So it's an equal protection problem. Like, there's a lot of problems with this. And so under a Second Amendment analysis, this is Brown v. ATF, the court finds 18 U.S.C. 922 B1 and C1 facially unconstitutional and as applied to plaintiffs.
Which is it's big. Like, I read through this and figured it would be like, we've had a couple other opinions in cases like this where it's like just to the plaintiffs, or it's or it's a little bit more limited in relief as far as what they're doing. And at the very end of this one, it explains the extent of the relief, and it says that it has no stay. Like, they feel that a stay is not appropriate. And I gasped out loud whenever I read that. Like, oh my god, holy shit! Like, so as far as my understanding of this is, somebody could go out, 18 years old tomorrow, and then go and buy the gun, assuming your state didn't separately criminalize it, because it will still take time to undo those, which is ridiculous, and it shouldn't have to be that way. But
like the Florida one is now still pending a rehearing on the Florida 21 ban. So, but hey, this is not bad.
Certainly a move, like a big move in the right direction, because it's really cool to see a court like have the big nuts, and they go, yeah, the government does, like, normally they give the government the stay to maintain the status quo. So it's huge whenever they don't do that, because the judge is saying very strongly, like, yeah, no, this is messed up and should go away forever.
Yeah, but we will see what happens. I'm sure they'll
the government will probably appeal tomorrow, because they really hate the idea of,
if they didn't already today,
they hate the idea of the people that they require to sign up for the draft to be able to own a handgun. And it's not clear why.
It's obvious. We should just not be respecting people's rights. Speaking of other things that are unclear as to why they were done, we're going to talk about the Anus King.
Mr. Anus King.
Yeah, Maine Senator Angus King has proposed the Gas-Operated Semi-Automatic Firearm Exclusion Act.
Now, this is a good one, because
for us Model 8 boys and set-me stands are right. We're in the clear, right?
That was everyone's gut reaction, was like, haha, G3 guys are punching the air in victory. Like, haha, we got them. Yeah, we stay on top. But it turns out they've taken the same definition to defining gas operated as I do whenever I'm shit posting and trying to make people mad.
They spilled pages of ink just to call semi-automatic or any type of automatic action gas operated.
There's two that I ended up thinking of that are semi-automatic or self-loading, automatic loading actions that apparently aren't gas operated. And it's things that are blow forward and then things that are headspace and or primer piston activated.
Escape forward though would still count,
because they specifically say blow backwards, and it's the cartridge case pushing on the bolt face, moving it backwards. Blow forward moves the breech. The breech.
Well, there's a separate one here. Hybrid system that combines the elements
of the first two. So they're trying to capture the AR-15 specifically with that one, because I'm sure somewhere along the way they were like, wait, the AR-15 isn't direct impingement exactly. It's sort of pistony.
Breech block I see what you're saying. Blowback operating system that directly utilizes the expanding gases of the ignited propellant power acting on the cartridge case to drive the breech block or breech bolt rearward, which is like, I get what you're saying. And then it's relative to what though? I mean, the breech face is moving rearward relative to.
I feel like you get them on ambiguity if they tried to say that blow forward is included there.
Yeah,
That's not clearly inclusive of blow forward.
Well, then a recoil operated system that uses the recoil. So it has to be.
It's blow forward or something weird like headspace operated or Garen's like your primer piston activated.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the cartridge case pushing the bolt backwards.
I feel like it can't be locked breech then. Well,
so I mean, I guess it can be because the headspace operated prototypes were, but also there's no evidence they work. It may be up
because the headspace systems. Ones wouldn't use recoil. Okay, we're being stupidly, we're being absurdly guntistic here, because the real reason they spilled all of this ink that we're now nerdily debating over was for what reason, right? You might be thinking, oh, well, it's because the gas operated guns are the most dangerized or like whatever. No. It's because they picked the acronym Go Safe and they had to backwards make it work. Like, right?
Because I'm sure they started with, oh, it's a gas operated, and now they got their cool acronym, and they're like, oh, wait, but there's other guns that aren't gas operated that are capable of the same sorts of things. So now we include all of them too. Yeah, and you can see that like somebody did a go wait to them, because on their own little infographic here, it's, and you'd think to follow this anti-clockwise, right? Is the firearm semi-automatic? Yes or no? Yes. Is the firearm gas operated? No, not regulated. But then it says, is the firearm gas operated? Yes. Then it asks if it's a recoil operated, right? Blah, 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 all this other stuff. It just doesn't make any sense, because you have to use their bizarre definition of gas operated that includes things that no one would ever call gas operated. And it's got bizarre exemptions, and of course, like their marketing of this, as far as like political marketing, is that we're going to ban the most dangerous weapons that were made for killing a lot of people, and that you can still keep your regular guns. And then they specifically exempt recoil operated handguns, like the 1911 or high power or Glock, all guns that were designed with a martial application specifically in mind. I
wouldn't worry about that. So again, it focuses on it, or only applies to gas operated firearms, right? Specifically exempt single shot rifles.
Yep. Well, then here's the funny thing is they say that breech loading rifles, shotguns, and handguns are all specifically exempt. Which end do you think the AR-15 loads from? The breech, the halfway in between, maybe the muzzle?
Smoothbore rifle or handgun? Are we getting smoothies back?
They do specifically exempt all semi-automatic shotguns, which is another weird one, because like
that's what what that tells you.
That Saigas aren't deadly.
No, the Turks are behind this.
Almost assuredly.
Also regulated. Detachable magazines with over 10 rounds of ammunition. Unlawful modifications.
Which is essentially any gun you make yourself that would be violative of this.
And machine gun conversion devices.
Which is bump stocks and FRTs. And anything that, and I think in the definition of the words of the law, is anything that materially increases the rate of fire of the weapon, with no definition of materially increased, which and
no definition of rate of fire.
It's a blank check that they're giving to the ATF. It's a blank check where they're like, ATF, fill in these blanks, and the ATF will be like, binary triggers are gone now too. You know how we said those were okay? They're gone.
Like rate of fire is an interesting thing too, because there's
cyclic, and then there's like actual practical rate of fire, because like an M16 full auto AR-15 and a semi-automatic AR-15 configured the same, only differing in their lack of an auto sear, have the same rate of fire. The gun's cycling the same, right? Cyclic rate of fire is the
semi-automatic one has a faster rate of fire,
right? Because it's not slowed down by the auto sear on closing. And
then the M1 Garand cycles 20% faster than either of them.
The Garand's flying.
The Garand, zoop. Oh, man.
Like a cyclic and effective rate of fire is probably something that would need defined there.
Look what I found today in the ground.
Wow. Nature is healing. It's a potato.
It's a United States made potato. And look, the rear of the receiver is totally normal.
It's doing what they normally
regular. Yeah, that's regular American gun quality and design, right? Because we do it so good.
It is kind of insane how short of a bolt travel the Garand has for a 30-06. It's really short and fast.
It's as if Douglas J. Gargrand was like did a bet as to how short he could do it.
I bet I could get this real short.
Yeah,
it's like literally the travel is the length of the cartridge and nothing more. I guess you could get it shorter, right? You could do the AN94 because it's, at one burst, its first round is half the length of the cartridge. So,
yeah, the floaty boy. Anyway, whatever. But so yeah, that's the Go Safe Act. I mean, I it's not going to go anywhere.
The interesting thing with it, I like Mr. Gutowski of the Reloads analysis.
Yeah, he wrote a Doug about it. Here, look, let's pull that up while you talk about it.
The interesting thing here. The interesting thing here is partway in they have like sort of redefined the way that they go after these guns, where instead of it being like a feature test where they call them assault weapons, they're going to call them gas operated weapons. And I think from a marketing standpoint, that's a massive mistake of theirs, because people hear assault weapons and think no one needs those. Right. They'll hear gas operated weapons and go, huh? It doesn't make sense unless they're marketing. They're like, oh, it's like a gas stove. It makes your kids' brains dumb if they breathe it in. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand what they're doing there. I think potentially, and this is me inferring, they're stepping away from the assault weapons feature test thing because they realize that probably is doomed. Its days in court are numbered at this point, and they want to find like a new novel way to go after these things. That when it comes like anti-gun moderates might not want to get behind assault weapons bans because people are very entrenched about them. So if you're from a red state but you're a blue representative, you're not going to be in favor of them. But a gas operated ban, that's maybe a little easier to sell to people, where it's like, oh, we're just going after something different here. And maybe people don't understand gas operated very well.
Senator Heinrich is from New Mexico. Let's see, like many New Mexicans, I am a gun owner. I firmly believe that we must uphold the laws that protect safe and responsible gun ownership. This bill achieves that while taking steps to get those firearms that are inherently dangerous and unusually lethal, designed for maximum harm, out of the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves or others.
It exempts cops, by the way.
So it was a typo. He meant to say into the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves or others.
Of course, these weapons that are inherently dangerous and unusually lethal. Mm-hmm. And so the other, I guess, interesting.
We need to give that to the revenue agents and the drug patrollers. Yeah,
3 of these 4 senators that have sponsored this have never sponsored any sort of like sweeping gun ban legislation before. Mm-hmm. So everybody's pointing to it as, oh, they're going to get something done. But the Democrats don't have a veto-proof majority in the Senate. Very unlikely it gets out of the Senate. And there's effectively no chance it goes anywhere in the House of Republicans, knock on wood, barring one notable Las Vegas or what have you. But
right, yeah, so this is really weird. But
it's certainly a thing. It's one of the things of all time that the anti-gunners have done.
It's something not to terribly worry about, I think. But I think it is. It shows you that they, I wouldn't say are learning, but that they are kind of like squirming around, and
they're capable of emulating real intelligence.
This is a language learning model. It's crashed into the wall at the beginning of Mario Kart about 150 times, and now it's beginning to take
made the first turn. Gas operated means all of them.
Yeah.
I made a copy pasta about that at one point, where it's like all guns are piston operated. Just depends on where the piston is, and the AR the pistons and the bolt carrier, and a direct blowback the cartridge case is the piston. It's always piston operated. They're all piston operated.
Yeah, no,
then these guys saw my shit post and they're like, holy shit, we're gonna ban them all.
Is that now one of them gas guns?
They're all gas guns.
Don't you know that's dangerous? Gas guns.
If your kids breathe, it'll make them stupid. Ban them. Just like the stoves.
Oh, but yeah, no. So that is crazy. And you know what else is crazy? The way the credit card companies try to F gun businesses like you, or the ones your family members or friends or internet friends run. And that's why you should send everyone to FFLPaymentProcessing.com. They should not be paying rates that are for a higher risk than the actual types of transactions that they're running. The gun industry has been really crapped on by credit card processors for too long. Now you have an open advocate in the credit card processing world. Go to FFLPaymentProcessing.com, hit get rates. Someone will get in touch with you, and there's a really good chance that you are going to save a lot of money. So go to FFLPaymentProcessing.com, tell your friends about it, tell your local gun shop, save them money. Maybe they'll give you a discount. I don't know. Okay, next up. Did you know Remington?
Mr. Remington?
Yeah, Mr.
Ex-owner of the Shrub Master?
Jonathan Rustington.
Jonathan Rustington.
They are ending their production in Illinois, New York.
This makes him like the second or third to say bye-bye New England.
Yeah. Wait.
Smith & Wesson's done now, too. Smith &
New
Wesson
York,
left.
New England?
Yeah. New England's all of the 13 colonies except for the ones in the South. Like Maryland's part of New England, if you ask me. Has to be.
Anyway, all right. So, sorry, that's like really my brain.
Yankee geography isn't for him.
Yeah, no, I just hate them all. But yeah, no, Remington is leaving home for good. In a note to employees today, Remarms bigwigs say they will end firearms production in their Illinois, New York plant in the coming months. It's massive news for the company. Remington was founded in Illinois more than 200 years ago, and they haven't made a good gun.
Wait, I'm trying to think. There was somebody who recently asked, like, has Remington ever made a gun that's worth collecting? And I went, anyway. I think it was somebody in real life that asked, like, has Remington ever made a gun that's worth good money, that's worth collecting? And I was like, like, think about it. You got Winchester really collectors that are like pre-64 Winchesters, or they like some people like collect the Japanese Winchesters, which is really interesting and weird because then Browning people will refuse to collect the Japanese Brownings.
Yeah,
and then you've got Colt collectors.
Weird racism.
And have you ever met a Remington collector? I've never seen such.
Yeah, no, I sat there and thought about it, and like
no one. Like Remington has a history of making you for a while there at least really, really. More affordable than the other American gun companies, and they're just like pedestrian, do it all sorts of guns.
Yeah,
they don't think like they've offered like engraved grades and better grades.
Well, and they did like they've done some funnies like the E-tronics,
right?
But like, no, when you really think about it, like
they don't have that.
I can think of the original R51, right? That was cool.
Right.
But like when you think of Winchester, there's just. You can't stop thinking of just cool guns they've done. So many different 22s.
Like stuff that when it shows up on Gunbroker and goes for $3,000, you're like, yeah, that's what they go for. Yeah. If you saw Remington go for $3,000 on Gunbroker, you'd be like, huh?
I guess the rolling block.
Yeah, I mean like old stuff, sure.
Yeah, like, but even then the rolling blocks are not expensive because they made one and they made a lot of them. Like, but yeah, so like. But nowadays, Remington is just like...
Yeah, ever since, was it American Outdoors or whoever it was that like ruined a bunch of other gun companies too?
Yeah, they ate Smith & Wesson and everything. But yeah, so...
I mean, this is the new Remington, right? This is post-bankruptcy Remington anyway, although it's being run by a lot of the same people, and it's so funny whenever that stuff happens.
Since production resumed after the last bankruptcy, Remington has a storied history of bankruptcy, the Illinois plant had scaled back massively from the mid-2010s, just over 5 years ago. It had more than 1,000 employees and ran 3 shifts. Even that was a massive drop from the heydays of the late 20th century. Big Green dominated the sporting firearm market that did it. The 870 and 1100 shotguns were top selling.
They did sell a lot of guns, but
870, especially the 870, like,
yeah.
I would prefer an 870 to a Mossy if I had to pick one.
Did they? And I guess the 7, when it comes to bolt action guns, everything's a 700 clone these days.
Well, the 700 is a Mauser 98.
Thereabouts.
It was a cost reduced Mauser 98. It's like literally what the designer claimed it to be. and the Model 700 bolt action, along with the company's full power semi-auto and pump action rifles, were also top sellers or near the top.
No, the pump action rifles weren't. Like there's the one notable that happened with them. They didn't sell very well. Like I went to the guns.
Wait, there is a Remington worth collecting.
Yeah. Oh, the
Model 8.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So sorry, never mind. Yeah,
like I went into the gun store and asked about the Remington pump action rifles, and nobody knew them.
Yeah, I've got one of the. I've got the. What is it? And Remington is so good about naming things, right? I think it's the Model 6 or something.
Right.
The 30-06 one.
The Model 8 is a good gun.
The Model 8 is.
And they stopped making those. Did they make them after World War II? I thought they were done by then.
Yeah, they were. I think they finished in the Depression.
They should have kept making them. Like, hey, Remington, move out of New York and make them again.
Well, the Model 8 was done by the Depression, but I think the
81 kept going on.
Hold on. The Model 81 was discontinued in 1950.
There you go.
Yeah, and it was replaced by. Okay, let's see. Okay, imagine what would replace, ostensibly the Model 8. Imagine what that gun would have to look like, right?
I didn't even know like they introduced a successor.
There was a direct successor to the Model 8, and so I want you to imagine what that gun would look like. It's a fucking 740. 740, and they gave it the Woodsmaster name and everything. And
I'm sure that's just rotating bolt then.
Yeah,
lame, awful.
It's terrible.
Nobody wants that.
So, yeah, they well, whatever. Anyway, yeah, they're leaving New York. Oh, whatever. They don't care as long as you're not making.
I wish them luck. Make Model 8s again, thanks.
Or don't. We fixed it.
Make the only good gun you've ever made. Make it again, please. Thank you.
I wonder how many people will. Probably not that many because no one's a Remington collector.
I wonder how much a new production Model 8 would even cost because it's probably $2,500.
I don't know, man. There's not much to that gun.
But it's long recoil. Nobody knows how to make long recoil.
Yeah, they just forgot.
It's all hand fit. It used to be done by like 13-year-old laborers who couldn't cut it in school.
They had files.
They can't. They say that you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if they move out of New York, they can start again.
To Turkey.
Turkey's gonna bring it back.
They just have to import the Model 8 as a shotgun and then rebarrel it here.
Yeah, and then the Turks will be like spraying them at like the Turkish arms industry is just a hose that shotguns come out of, and they spray it at here in Australia and Europe. I was learning today from one of the Australians in the Fuddbusters Discord server, which you can join if you go ahead and give some money on the Patreon or whatever. But he was explaining that they had passed some law in his state where. His Australian state, where that limited the shotguns to a 5-round tube, and so the Turks immediately just like chopped the tubes off of the gun designed for their market to sell into the market, and it included a 3-round tube extension as a free gift. It's just like the Turks just have this vicious energy of pumping shotguns into any market they can, which I love for them, because the Turks are one of the reasons that gun buybacks stay being terrifying for the municipalities, right? Because they can say, oh, no 3D printed guns, no whatever. A Turk shotgun is as straight up gun as you can get. Yeah. And you can get them wholesale. But all right, next up, this is a good one. So this is from the Firearm blog. They're saying that MagTech is coming out with cheap and good steel case ammunition.
I almost bought a case to test it, and then I was like, it's like half a cent cheaper than the European import brass case, and I was like, wait, I'm not paying half a cent less. Plus, I've had some bad experiences with MagTech ammo in the past. And then there was one guy I know who got a case of 40, and within the first 100 rounds, he had 5 squibs. And then he was shooting it in an MP5, and he shot one of the squibs out, which is terrifying.
Now, MagTech, is that Brazil or Israel?
Brazil, I believe. Of course, they may do some like funny haha where they're like an importer of places stuff made in other places, but
I had gotten some MagTech primers once that were Israeli, but whatever. Who knows what's happening there? Here's the thing. This article made me mad because it's like talking about no, this steel case is different. It's going to be better. It's going to be better. Here's what you guys have to understand. Ivan, is steel case bad for your gun?
Shooting your gun's bad for your gun. Don't shoot it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
But like, is it going to scratch up the chamber?
No, not really. Unless there's something wrong.
Yeah, no, that's like, people are so scared to shoot steel case. Oh, no, but then the lacquer, that's going to peel off.
Yeah, the lacquer will come off.
It's going to get stuck in your chamber.
Like, ignore the fact that you can take a blowtorch to lacquered cases and it doesn't come off because they make that out of something different. They make that out of something different that there's no way you could do legally in the US.
They make it out of like
OSHA would show up and shoot you with your own ammo, sort of thing.
No, OSHA would show up in a hazmat shoot, and then
OSHA and the EPA would have rock paper scissors over who gets to shoot you.
Yeah. So like this new MagTech ammo, the big thing about it appears to be, hold on,
it's zinc plated.
Yeah, it's plated. So it's just, they're pouting this as a key innovation is zinc plating and tumbling your case, like polished steel, zinc plated. No, they figured out how to do it cheaper. Like that's what it is. This is like they figured out in Brazil how to get a friction modifier onto steel without using the double danger Russia chemical.
The Russians have done a nickel and copper plated steel case as well.
Yeah, like it's a Wolf Military Classic that looks brass case. It's not.
Right, and so there's there's a lot of ways that you can go about making steel case want to extract better. Of course, like regular steel case and most handguns will just run fine.
Yeah.
But having the friction modifier on there certainly does help. It's just having zinc plating doesn't mean it's like, oh, they've solved all the problems of steel case. I don't think that's true. Now the interesting thing to see will be there was a couple cases of that was lacquered 9mm steel case that I got where the case was made to nominal dimensions and then they lacquered it.
Yeah. And
in any match grade chamber, it would not go into a match grade chamber without scraping all of the lacquer off of it.
Yes. I have seen cases where they like did the lacquer wrong and they like using an actual like drip of it too.
Right.
But I've also seen Winchester white box exist. Right?
I've seen Winchester white box that does funny stuff.
And then I've also seen that what was that? What was the worst steel cased ammo I've ever used? Was that
the Winchester forged?
Yeah, the Winchester forged. Yeah. And like I think the friction modifier they used was just pure mill powder, like powdered mill scale, because that shit would get all over your hands.
It was filthy, nasty.
I remember putting filling a mag full of my Sten with that and dumping it outdoors and I just started coughing.
Yep.
So yeah, MagTech's parent group, CBC Global Ammunition, encompasses various other renowned manufacturers like CBC Brazil, Men Germany, Centerfire, and Cellular and Below. I didn't know that. I didn't know those.
I didn't know that they were related, but okay.
The CBC. Yeah, but anyway, guys, like I think this is good because there's more cheap ammo out now. But I think the moral of the story is just shoot the steel case. Stop being a loser.
But what if my extractor gets sad?
Oh yeah,
the funny thing is most handguns are controlled feed anyway, and the extractor is not getting wore out because it's not really humping over anything. It's like just barely getting pushed over, and it's really not gonna. Like, there was that one thing, and it might have been TFB that done it, where they took an AR and then shot a bunch of steel case through it, and they wore out an extractor shooting steel case, and that the extractor and the brass case gun was still okay. Where it's like, yeah, and stuff that's controlled feed, it is true it will wear parts out quicker, but you're talking like 10,000 rounds,
right?
And by that point, you've spent so much money on ammo that a new extractor isn't a bad idea. Also, you're probably supposed to replace your bolt head at that point anyway.
But yeah, it's just I just get so upset when people like I had somebody
turn up their noses at steel case like, ooh, I can't put that in my gun.
Yeah, I had somebody turn their super gasp when he saw I was shooting a machine gun with steel case. He's like, "You put steel through your Sterling?" And I'm like, "What do you think the British fed it? Good ammo? Match grade?"
Probably at some point in time it had centered iron bullets shot through it, just washing the rifling straight out the end. Yeah. I don't think they cared.
Yeah, in the MP40, what do you think that was designed for? They almost came up with the thing, right? Anyway.
The one thing I will let people turn their noses up at is aluminum case pistol ammo. I've had horrible experiences.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work right.
I had 3 or 4 rounds of it that swelled into the flutes in an MP5. It locked itself. It blew the aluminum out into the flutes in the chamber of that gun, and I had to beat it out of there. I had to stick a ramrod down the barrel. Completely splintered a wooden dowel rod, then had to move on to an AK cleaning rod that I was beating on with an actual hammer to get it out of there. And I was like, wonder why that happened. So of course I went and tried another round and it did the same exact thing.
And you were like, I'm so dumb.
And so then I didn't shoot any more of that aluminum case in those MP5s. So there's certainly some guns that will not play nice with aluminum case, but when it comes to stuff that's actually intelligent materials to make cases out of steel or brass, it doesn't matter. You can just shoot your gun. It'll be okay.
Right on. Anyway, you know what else will be okay? Provided you go to MAF Corporation and do some shopping. That's right. It's maf-arms.com, guys. Unique, creative, and epic. There's a big sale still going on for a short period of time. You got to go in and scoop up the deals while the deals is hot. Scoop them all up. Just give them a good scoople. Everything is great and wonderful, and there's new shirts and stuff, and we've got a new code for y'all. We've got a new code. Use code Fuddbusters, and you're gonna get an extra 10% off. Wow, that's the biggest discount that we've done. It's a big one. Use code Fuddbusters. If you can't spell that, how'd you find me? And yeah, get a nice fat discount, a big fat discount. But you got to do it right now, or else I may never see you again.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
It's Schrodinger's Fuddbusters.
All right, next up, we got another Maryland story. And guys, this is, I always tell you, Maryland shall issue. Really important group. All volunteer. One of the only competent forces that is standing against the cutting edge of the government's saber, right, in the gun law space. So MSI got a win in the handgun qualification license, effectively the handgun permitting scheme. They got a win at the Court of Appeals. And usually what happens is that the police, when they lose at the appellate court, they're like, all right, we're going to kind of chill because we don't want to keep doing something we know is violating people's rights. Because we could be subject to fees, right? We could be subject, we're going to lose out on a lot of stuff. The Maryland State Police said, fuck that. We're going to keep going with this until they force us to stop. And I guess why not if it's not your money?
What are they going to do? Send the cops after us? Us.
Yeah. So let's read some of this decision. In Maryland, if you are a law-abiding person who wants a handgun, you must wait up to 30 days for the state to give you its blessing. Until then, there is nothing you can do. The issue is out of your control. Maryland has not shown that the regime is consistent with our nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. There might well be a tradition of prohibiting dangerous people from owning firearms, but under the Second Amendment, mechanism matters. And Maryland has not pointed to any historical laws that operated by preemptively depriving all citizens of firearms to keep them out of dangerous hands. Plaintiff's challenge must thus succeed, and the district court's contrary decision must be reversed. And so, naturally, if you're the state police, you're going to say, at this time, the handgun qualification license law remains in effect, and there is no immediate changes in the process to purchase a firearm in Maryland. The opinion of the Fourth Circuit does not become effective until the court issues a mandate.
Okay.
That's just being a good sport.
That's because the issue there, as I understand it, is that the court has said that this is presumptively unconstitutional, and upon the issuing of their mandate, upon the thing going into effect, you knew the state police certainly wouldn't be able to continue to enforce this, require this.
What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Nothing funny is happening.
However, what the state police is doing here is saying that, sure, you said it's presumptively wrong, but until you tell us we have to stop, we're going to keep doing it.
That's fair.
Fair and a regular thing for them to do.
Yeah, so that's good. Well, we'll see what happens, but you can know that MSI is going to be keeping up the fight, and that they are going to be getting that order and doing something about it. So thank you. Thank you, brave fighters. Oh, this is important. This next one's important. ATF, all right, guys, ATF. They published for notice and comment their interpretation, right? This is part of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which, what a mistake.
One of the biggest mistakes of all time.
Yeah. The definition of engaged in the business of buying and selling firearms. This is really pernicious, really problematic, and the lead is being buried by the usual fear-mongering and psychotic bullshit that goes on in our space. This is important. The comment period ends on 7th December. You guys gotta go and write a comment. What you don't want to do is click the GOA's dipshit little link to copy paste their middling form letter, because that they notice they're not gonna keep reading them each time over and over again. You want to write your own comment, and I've done a video on how to write a regulatory comment. They do have to respond. They do have to take what you're saying into account. It is important. When you do a form letter, it gets lumped in, and they just do one response to all of them at the same time. Think of stuff, like anything you think of, any personal applications you have. Like, talk about the way that guns naturally increase in value, and how this could implicate you trading with your friends, and how this could implicate the biggest thing for me is that this is happening. So this is ATF basically trying to hyper expand who needs to have an FFL to not go to jail, right? And that's could be anyone who's selling a firearm for the principal purpose of monetary gain. You might buy a gun, and then the next day it becomes super rare, and be like, oh, I would like to make a big profit. Could be a problem, right? Under this little attempt they're doing. Here's the issue. This is happening at the same time as ATF's zero tolerance policy. And with ATF zero tolerance, if you have an FFL or whatever, and it gets revoked, they're not going to let you have another one. So at the same time that they're trying to expand who needs to have an FFL to not go to jail, they're trying to limit the population of who can have an FFL.
Yep.
These things are fundamentally incompatible, and I don't think the government gets to have both of these, and that point needs to be made. So do it. This is important. I do think this is important, that you should actually write a comment. What do you think, Ratman?
I concur that Usually,
he says I'm right.
When it comes to like commenting witness slips on legislation, right? The legislators are going to vote however they're going to vote.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually sort of a predetermined thing because it's whatever the people who give them the most money say that they should do.
Right.
Meanwhile, when it comes to the regulatory agencies, the one silver lining of the fact that the regulatory agencies are the ones actually writing the laws these days is they do, at least for now, still abide by the APA requires them to respond to every comment. And so if comments that are close to identical or virtually identical or just a form letter, they respond to all of those with one response because they're not it's not a unique comment. Meanwhile, if you bring up an issue that you think maybe you think it applies to other people, but it turns out it's actually the only person who dropped that comment, it could be pretty important. And as far as people saying, well, but in the end they'll pass the rule anyway. We saw with the pistol braces, we saw with the frames of the receivers, and we especially saw when they tried to ban M855.
Yep.
If your comments pose enough of a problem for them to answer, they'll either screw off like they did with M855. They just dropped that, right? They said, nope, we're not going to call this armor piercing because it causes so many problems they can't answer the questions. Or with the frame or receiver rule, right? They were originally trying to say that they have the latitude to call all pistol slides frames or receivers.
And that there can be multiple frames and receivers.
Right. And they straight up dropped that because everybody said, hey, dog, that's fundamentally incompatible with the way this has always worked.
Well, and that was one of the things that we wrote.
Yep.
And guess what? We wrote our own one, and they sat there for a long amount of
it was like at least a couple of paragraphs just to answer like, this is how we think it would work.
But directly in response to our comment, they said, well, this concern is because we're saying it, we're clarifying it, it can only be one part.
Yep.
Now, right? That if a bunch of people didn't make a fuss about that, because we wrote a whole paragraph about why the multiple parts thing is a problem, it may have not came up, and that we might have had to deal with that horrible reality for as long as the rule was in play. Yep. So it is important, guys, and you can make a difference. And if you're watching our show, you probably have a high enough IQ to actually make a good comment.
We're gonna major breaking news you the smartest gun in the room.
Yeah, you're gonna
be the smartest gun in the room, and you can make the smartest ATF comment.
Not a lot of guys know this. Not a lot of guys know that. You're gonna smart Second Amendment. There's like that's Northampton, and
not a lot of people know this.
Not a lot of people know this. You're gonna go and you're gonna be the smartest Thanksgiving dinner guy.
That's true. And you could make the best comment. We're gonna have a best comment award. Whoever makes the best comment on the ATF engaged in the business gets two free A2 grips.
What? Okay, yeah, deal. All right, I'll do it. No, 2.5. I'll give you 2.5.
You don't get to choose how it's cut.
No, I have. We have like two things that I promised I would give stuff out for. One was the best. I liked it when the rat did whatever, and I picked that person. So I've got to try to get in contact with them. I forgot what the other one is. If you guys remember, write it down below. But yeah, you write your best comment. You got to tag us on and show us the thing. And we're going to get 2.5 A2 grips to the best comment.
And we're not necessarily saying just the funniest. Maybe if it's really funny. If it's funny, if it's funny, we have to wait for the ATF to actually respond. Because, like, obviously, if you just fill your comment with, like, haha, you're all retarded, they're not going to respond to that comment.
Substantive, yeah.
But if you've got a comment that's funny and then they respond to it, then you can win off of a funny comment. Meanwhile, like people who make like an argument that we think is particularly going to be funny for the ATF to have to try and bojangle their way around.
There's a lot of work that you guys can do, and that's why I appreciate you.
We're crowdsourcing the absolute waste of government employees' time.
Yeah, and we're not being absolute dickweeds about it and pretending we need you to send us $5, $15, $25, or even $150.
Send us $5 million so that you can do our form letter that they'll ignore because they can ignore all the form letters.
$5 million. Yeah. And then, yeah, waste some of your time clicking our links so that we can send you more emails. And then we'll take credit for other people's work. That's what we'll do. But Patriot patch. Go look at patriotpatch.co. If you can see, I've got the new patch of the month. It's they got another new one. I just got this one. Oh, but hey, if you join the patch of the month club, you can stay ahead of it. And nobody taking my IR-15 goes to December exclusive. He knows. Is that a Games Thrown reference?
I don't know. I don't watch Pokemon.
I don't listen to hip hop. I don't know what this is. But yeah, no, they got a great. I like Patriot Patch. It's a good company. The patches are super high quality. Go check it out. Check out their whatever. And if you go, use promotional code TWIG10, TWIG10, just so they know that you're part of the Twig crew, that you're a good person, and that they won't spit in your order, or spit in your order if that's what you want.
You just have to ask them in the comments. Yeah, you say specifically, I want spit in my order.
All right. Last up, this is the one that you did the research in, and you put into the notes. This is a Fourth Circuit case, and they say it's an unpublished order, but I got it right here.
How do I have it then?
Yeah.
So this is about the FRTs, the force resetting triggers,
the Ford reset trigger.
If you guys remember, somewhat recently, there was an injunction in the fifth district of Mr. Reed O'Connor, the judge, and
I said fourth. I was stupid.
And he essentially said that given the definition plus the fact that the ATF just sort of like arbitrarily said, remember the thing we did with bump stocks? That means it applies to FRTs as well. And so they, he said that that's not okay. The ATF can't do it. And so he enjoined the ATF from doing anything about FRTs, specifically to the members of NAGR and then the other plaintiffs, but specifically exempting from those groups Rarebead and its employees and officers, et cetera, because there's a separate case in New York where a judge had decided that all of the FRT stuff going on is machine guns. And then the Fifth Circuit didn't want to do what they call trenching, where it's like there's two completely separate fields of law, schools of law that could apply to you depending on which part of the country you're in, which would be funny. We should let that happen more. Just balkanize, it'd be great. But
I like that one.
the cool thing that happened here is the ATF asked for a stay while they appeal this injunction, and the Fifth Circuit was
Fudge Willett said no.
They were pretty unequivocal when they said they said no, and then they went point by point.
Let me read this bit. A stay is not a matter of right, even if irreparable injury might otherwise resort. It is instead an exercise of judicial discretion. And then you scroll down a little bit. Defendants thus fail on one of the most critical stay factors. Yeah. They have not carried their burden to show that they are entitled to a stay pending appeal. Accordingly, their motion is denied. And he went through every single one of the factors. And he's like, no. No.
Because the ATF argued that if they don't get a stay, then it's going to be very hard for them to go and seize these devices. And the judge is like, yeah, because these devices aren't illegal. It should be hard for you to seize them.
Yeah.
It's like, oof. And then the ATF was saying that prohibited possessors could get their hands on them if the injunction exists. And the judge is like, that might be true. These things don't shoot bullets without a gun. And then I was the thought that I had is like, we need to get a case in front of this judge about conversion devices.
Mr. Willett
need to get a case in front of him and have him apply that same little nugget of thinking where it's like, if it can't shoot bullets, why do we care?
So like, this is hard because all of these developments around this area are happening at the same time our brief is coming due in the Hoover case.
Yep.
And part of me is wondering whether we should, and I of course talked to my client, whether we should kind of like push it back and wait for some of this stuff to come down.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but it really gives me hope because just none of this shit's machine gun.
Right. Like if we assume, I think I've said this before, but like if we assume under the powers that the federal government has given to them by the Constitution, they can ban machine guns. I don't think they can. They really can't. Way outside.
They said they can't. They said they can't they said they couldn't in the debates when they were. Anyway,
it's way outside their ambit. But let's say they have that power.
Yeah, let's assume arguendo.
That just sounds like a spell in Harry Potter. Arguendo. Assuming they had that power, right?
Yeah.
That power should only very narrowly extend to the things that they're trying to regulate, which is guns, firearms, actual firearms capable of expelling a projectile with combustion. Specifically, only those that can do more than one with the cycle of the trigger, right? It shouldn't possibly extend to things that it's like one removed from that, which is it's a device that could convert a firearm to be that, or two removals where it's like it's a combination of parts that maybe could do it. It can't be more one remove or two removes. If they have the power to regulate this, it's only possibly very narrowly that they could tax it and not outright prohibit it. Right. And it should only possibly be the exact thing that they're actually trying to tax or prohibit, not things that are one remove or two removes or three removes.
Sucks is like, and it's pervasive in this field. Is there's this whole, and I don't understand how it happened so quickly, but there's just this whole zeitgeist that, machine guns is bad.
Yeah, machine guns gangster.
Like machine guns, you can't have that.
No.
But the fact that the Swiss have them,
right?
Like, I mean, of course, like they have like ridiculous amounts of restrictions, but
or do like neuter them, but the way that they neuter them would still be a machine gun in the U.S. because that's theirs is like actually a readily convertible, which isn't the thing here, but readily restored. Their stuff is readily.
Every time
restored.
I see,
they just take machine guns and then it's like, it can't rotate all the way. It's no longer a machine gun.
I like the way the Poles do it too. The Poles are like, we glued it to not do that.
Glue.
Yeah. And then the Serbs are just like, we just bury it. But yeah. So anything else to say about that?
I don't know. I agree with your point that there's like some sort of a weird zeitgeist surrounding full auto stuff where like,
everybody, like, even when I was like doing the circuit and I was talking to all the other, pointy headed academics, and I'd be like, and I'd talk about this whenever I'd like question the validity of machine gun restrictions, everyone would look at me like I had like 3 dicks on my forehead. And so it's really stuck in there. It's going to be,
and it's hard to grasp why, because like it's like the bell curve of intelligence meme, where like the idiot on the one side and the Jedi on the other side are really smart. Like they say the same thing, but one's smart and one's dumb and smart on accident. But like it's one of these that like peaks 4 or 5 times on the way along machine guns, where it's like there's a really dumb guy doing a correct thing where he's like, semi-automatics are probably more deadly in most applications. And then all the way on the right side Jedi is like, it says, semi-automatics are deadly in most applications. However,
oh man, and
just like along the way, like there's like the peaks of like the stupid guy, like the peaks of like many people think this, but they're all wrong. Like there's many instances of like
like the Redditor. The Redditor is like,
It's not good for a self-defense or lawful purpose.
Wait, hold on. Wait, look, I can do this. So there's two people, right?
Yep.
Full auto is dangerous, and it's okay to restrict them. We have a right to full auto. I feel like those occupy the same peaks.
Yes, I feel like there's like a Venn diagram going on here, and it's like almost a circle. It's like we have to understand guns and demystify them so that people won't get scared of them. Yeah. Also, we have to treat every gun like it's always loaded. It's always loaded. There's a bullet and it could go off at any second. It's always loaded. The gun's sentient. The gun's sentient. It's going to go off. The gun's sentient. Did you know that? Look, I put my AR-15 on a table and told it to go shoot somebody. Guns can't shoot nobody. Guns can't load themselves.
Yeah, and single action guns with loaded chamber indicators.
Never point at safety anywhere. It's going to blow up. And there's four rules. Single
action guns with loaded chamber indicators when the hammer forward.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure you Reddit that finger. You gotta make sure. Like the only way to properly Reddit finger is to put your finger in the
ejection port.
In the ejection
in the chamber and make sure it's clear.
Yeah, show it clear right there, everybody. That's how you do it good. Right. This is advanced Reddit finger.
Ow! And you know, and then of course the funny thing is like the guys who made your gun and the guys who probably clean your gun because you don't clean your gun yourself because you'd have to break the 4 precious rules.
And the guy who shoots your gun,
right? They break the 4 rules constantly because you kind of have to. Like if you carry a gun, you're breaking at least 2 of them.
Wait, which ones do you break if you're carrying?
You're not treating it like it's loaded, and then you're not pointing it in a safe direction. Because like it's pointed at you,
it's literally pointing at your body.
It's pointing at you at the end of the day, which is like goes hand in hand with: are you treating that like it's loaded? Well, if treating it like it's loaded means you're not supposed to point at anything you're not willing to destroy.
Well, hey, I mean, for a lot of our audience, they probably are. I'm gonna pull up 2 pictures of a man who knows more about guns than any of you. So, here at this point, he had only, casually developed the best self-loading shotgun ever devised. But, this was earlier in his life. He must have not, known, right? Like, let's go to later in his years. Oh.
Yeah. And the cool thing about the Auto 5 is you can definitely see the safeties off. Right? It's the early so-called suicide safety, and that shit's definitely forward. That thing.
Oh yeah, that one.
She's ready to go.
The suicide safe. Why do they call it the suicide safety?
Because it's in the trigger guard, and then
just like a Garand.
Yeah, and then like the weird thing is, I think it's because people were saying that like when you had winter gloves on when you're hunting, you'd go to fiddle with the safety to take it off, and you'd accidentally pull the trigger.
I bet that happened.
Because like there is like a little clit on the safety that you have to push up before you can push the safety forward. And I guess the concern was like people with the gloves wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the trigger and the clit, and then they'd set it off.
I just hope they all had fun.
I don't know how often that happened. But anyway,
but yeah,
if you really want to demystify guns, emphasize, understand, like of course the 4 rules of gun safety have their place. They're meant to keep people from shooting themselves when they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
However, by the time you've sort of understood a gun just a little bit and having one in your hand doesn't feel weird, you can take the steps of understanding how a gun works and accepting them.
Yeah. And
the guys who made your gun, the guys who designed your gun, the guy who's cleaned your gun for you, presumably, they all break the rules, and it's okay. It's okay.
And just like, let me tell you this, at some point, it's okay to touch your trigger.
How do you take your Glock apart? Do you the last round you fire at the range, you dry fire it? You take it apart then at the range, or like you just like dry fire it and then take it home?
Or do they have one of those little cop clearing boxes?
I don't
cops
know.
need because like they cannot check the chamber. They like can't. So whenever they're done at the range, they have to put it in the retard box and pull the trigger. I love those. You know what I love about those? I've known like 3 different people who have worked as armorers in police departments whose like little desk is near where the clearing box is.
And people still light ones off.
They say it's constant. It's like,
yep. Maybe we do need 4 rules.
I just love that. I want to like I want stats on that. I want to know how many times rounds are popped off into the retard box, like in every police department, you know.
I thought there was a video recently of a guy who was like National Guard or something that had a 240 in the retard box and he let one off. Like, oh, there's still one in there.
Like, how did you do that?
How'd that get there?
It'd be like little rip off. Like you just like there's just a little bit of belt.
It'd be really funny if there was like 2 rounds left on the little links and he just didn't check. Just throw it up.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for coming. Support us on the Patreon or the whatever. Give the money. Click the link. Eat the product.
Touch the trigger.
Touch the trigger.
Shoot the steel case.
Shoot the steel case.
Kiss your guns goodnight. Hold them close.
Kiss your guns goodnight. And when they tell you they love you, tell them back.
And embrace good gas-operated guns like the Auto 5 and Remington Model 8.
And Tech 9.
Tech 9's a really good gas-operated gun.
All right, everyone. Take care.